Mark, I get signed because.
We should be very careful.
Hey, Ginny, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
If you would go.
Can you hear me? Hmm?
Public facilities. Irregular.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'll start again. So an irregularly scheduled meeting of the Public Facilities Committee. Present at the beginning of the meeting is Councillor Getz from Ward 5, Councillor Leary from Ward 1, Councillor Kelly from Ward 3, President Laredo from Ward 7, Councillor Danberg from Ward 6, Councillor Gentile from Ward 4, and myself, Susan Albright from Ward 2, and our committee clerk, Lisa Fennell, and our COO, Jonathan Yo. And we have also Commissioner, let's call you Counselor, Commissioner Sullivan, DPW, not any ward. Okay. So we have a bunch of free cash items, and I guess all the DPW things are coming up first. So the first item is 9825, appropriation of 576,000 for prevailing wage rate adjustment. Wanted to just, yeah.
Sure. So when the waste management contract was agreed upon in 2020, the prevailing wage for FY25 was not set. So there's language within the contract that allows waste management to obviously collect on that prevailing wage that they are required to pay in FY25. So the difference between FY24 and FY25 was $225,576. This will make waste management whole. I don't think any questions. Fairly straightforward.
Who sets the prevailing wage rate?
The Department of Labor Standards.
That's
Is that,
BLS.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, I'll go first because I raised my hand.
You do.
Did you mention that there's a deadline, a timing issue with this particular
So
item?
I know the intent was to hold this evening. I would really ask that you please pass this one item this evening so that we can pay Waste Management before we enter into the FY 25, FY 30 contract, which we will be signing hopefully before July 1st. It will begin on July 1st.
Okay, that helps for everybody to know that. And then-
President Lorraine,
I'm fine with that. My only question is, did we have some anticipation that we would have a shortfall here because we do prevailing wages?
We did, we just did not know the rate they were going to set it.
And how far back did we know that?
We had no idea what the rate was going to be, so sometimes they do not raise it.
Yeah.
But they did raise it in FY 25. So there is,
I'm just trying to think for budgeting purposes, are we gonna have a similar issue for FY 26?
no, we're all set. They set it for the 4 years.
Okay.
They did not set for FY 25 at that point. They were late this fiscal year in setting it for 25. I believe they set it till February.
And contractually were they able to set it that late?
It's not part of the Waste Management contract. They rely on the DLS. to
So they
set-
rely on the state to provide the numbers
Yeah.
and then they have to
They
pay
have,
the numbers on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine.
Awkward, but it's the reality.
All right, I'm fine.
Yeah.
it's unfortunately not anything that the city itself has control over.
Council Leary,
If there's no further discussion, I will make a motion to approve.
okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that one is taken care of. The next one is 104-25. Your Honor, the Mayor requesting a total of $4,500,000 to support the city's transportation network improvement program, with $3 million appropriated from the June 30th, 2024 certified free cash and $1,500,000 transferred from the snow and ice reserves within the controller's budget.
So this is a request for $4.5 million for the FY 26 paving program. This funding is critical for us. We need to go out to bid on 3 of our contracts this summer. We need to have the funding in place to move forward with our paving program. It will give us the ability to plan all of our streets for the spring of the upcoming year. We do need lead time in order to do that and understand who our contractors are.
Are there any-
Sean, does this include all the other, besides sidewalks and other improvements?
Traffic calming, our
Okay.
paving,
Right.
our bike lanes, pavement markings, our streets division, asphalt, sidewalk and curbing repairs and installations.
And this brings us up to our full budget.
Just shy, it's 9.5 million a year. I believe it is just shy. It's probably about 8.5 million.
And we have some ARPA that we're still spending.
Yes, we're still spending ARPA right now, but
Is that
But
included?
this
in
is-
your-
this is separate.
Yeah, President
Just,
Moran.
just so we're clear, this is our regular spending, but it's coming out of free cash.
Yeah, as it has every year.
Yeah, it does, that we do that all the time.
Oh, I know that's how we do it, but it is regular maintenance spending that we do every year that we fund out of free cash.
On a road, not an F, there's no FTEs involved. These
I
are.
understand that as well. I'm not suggesting we shouldn't spend the money, quite the contrary, I think it's well spent. It's a budgeting question, we can leave it at that.
I was just reviewing the budget minutes because Lisa just gave them to me to read the other day. And I wasn't quite sure how much money we have to spend in this coming fiscal year. There's this money that just shy of 9.5. There's the ARPA money, and then there's carryover money. Do I have that right?
So there is carryover money. That's for this construction season. So that's for this year. We are under contract for all of the ARPA funding.
The ARPA,
And that
and
is,
the carryover money, is that also under contract?
yes. It will be shortly. I am in the process of signing a contract for $5 million additional paving.
So that's the carry forward money.
Yes, we've awarded that contract to Allied Paving.
So, and the ARPA money, how much is that?
Total, it was 12 million. I believe it's about, we still have about 5 million to spend. which is split between DNR paving, that's all one overlay, and Newport paving, who is handling the Newport Road,
over the next 2 years.
and all states.
Oh, so it's not all for this, just this year.
We have-
We're going to spend the majority of it this year.
Okay, I was just, I'm curious to know whether all that money can be spent in 1 year.
We're gonna do our best. Hopefully the weather permits us to do it all.
I'm happy that we have $1,500,000 in, from snow and ice reserves, so like, lucky we have it in there.
So do we have a motion on this one?
I just have a further question.
Please, go ahead.
Because you had included all the, like bicycle lane installations and the sidewalk AG ramp, that's
That is
everything.
all within the transportation network improvement
Right.
program.
I saw that you had started the work on Chapel and Watertown Street for the new curbing.
We did,
It
yeah.
looks terrific.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fabulous once it's done.
They got one more side to do. Did you expect this to, how long does that usually last? Because the last time we did it was probably 10 years ago, and I think the reason we're redoing it is because this is, the other one went right into the middle of the street.
Yes.
And this one actually has really good granite curbing around it and really guides people to where the pedestrian crossing is
It's compliant.
compliant, that's
Yeah.
it. So, and then we redid thousands of those, under the last, Merrill administration, so do we have to redo all of those?
No, not all of them. We do have a number of ramps that are not compliant that we are addressing.
Okay, because most of them are like the one at Chapel and Watertown.
So, yes, we will have to redo those if the slope is not correct.
Okay. That was really my only question. I'm really happy that you've got a good list here and, in terms, and the traffic calming too.
Do you know we do about 190 ADA ramps a year?
I know you're good with those numbers.
Yeah.
Yes, right?
Okay, I'm done with my questions.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. A constituent was asking me about an update on the Elliott Street traffic calming project. Has the contractor been selected for that?
It has,
Okay, who is that?
it's
Oh,
Aonini,
okay, and when are they scheduled to start?
when National Grid is off of Elliott Street.
Okay,
And
and
we
that's,
install the water main, and I think it's mechanic.
so it's gonna be, so there's,
So that's,
okay,
they're doing that in conjunction with each other.
all right, so
So
you
we
think,
should get it to this late summer, early fall. It all depends on the gas work.
yeah,
Can't commit to their schedule.
all right, that's, thank you, because I think you're right in front of me and I can ask you.
Ms. Fairley, you have a question, comment?
I just wanted to comment on the, I'm happy to hear someone noticed the Chapel and Watertown intersection. Most of that is funded by the ADA MOD Improvement Grant of 120,000, and it's coming along quite well. Thank you.
Yes, it is. I just live up the street from there. That's why I noticed.
And I forgot
Super.
to say here, Miss Jeannie Fairley is also with us, who's our ADA, what's your name?
Coordinator.
Coordinator, okay. So thank you for that. Now, do we have a motion on this one?
I'll make a
Thank you.
motion.
Hold,
Oh, we have to hold this?
yeah,
Oh, sorry. Did you make?
and the whole. So Council Leary has made a motion to hold. Any other further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, thank you very much. So just to remind everybody that we do have a meeting on June 2nd. We actually vote on these one way or the other. Okay, the next one is 117-25. Ron Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate $43,100 from June 30th, 2024 certified free cash to purchase and install RRFBs at prioritized crosswalk locations through the city.
So this will fund the 43,100, just under 2 RFPs in the city. These are great for pedestrians. They do, cause the traffic to yield and allow safe crossing for anyone using a busy intersection.
Do you know where these
or
two are going?
Uh,
Just throughout the city.
I was wondering if you knew which ones these are.
so there's a pending grant for, I think
Yes.
about $100,000, which should take care of the top 5 locations. This would be number 6 and 7,
Okay.
or if we don't get the grant, 1 and 2.
Well, I was just at the TAG meeting with Ned, who said that we got a grant. I think he said we
We
got it.
applied for a grant, I had not
You haven't
heard that
heard?
it was awarded, but I was
Hopeful.
out all day.
We're hopeful.
We're very hopeful, and members have that for the information.
Yeah,
Did
okay.
you say this one's just under 2?
Yes,
So,
they're about $25,000 a piece now,
and,
construction escalation.
Councilor Leary.
I do really like the RRFPs and I think they are very effective. I see them all around where I walk, Watertown has them. Are they all still the same kind of fundamental design or have they made any changes to
We have
them?
a fundamental design.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that we're going ahead with those.
Anybody have any other things? Any motions?
I'll move to vote.
Okay, Councilor Kelly has moved to hold any further discussion. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? So that's unanimous. Okay, the next one is, I wrote help instead of help, okay. 118-25, appropriation of 100,000, Veronica May requesting authorization to appropriate 100,000 from June 30th, 2024 free cash to purchase and install a second trailer at the Rumford Avenue Resource Recovery Center.
So this 100,000 will partially fund the purchase of a trailer, a much needed trailer. It will certainly help with operations at Sustainable Materials Management. Our superintendent is currently housed at Craft Street, which is not ideal. We don't have any lockers or space for our team to take breaks, use the facilities. We only have the 1 bathroom at Rumford, which is a problem. This will allow us to move all of the yard basement sweeper crews and our superintendent.
Okay, President Laredo.
Is this gonna fully fund that, or do you need other money?
I do not need other money. The first trailer, we actually saw some savings because we were able to purchase a refurbished trailer. So we have funds available.
So we bought a refurbished trailer, which is the first trailer we have there.
Yes,
How much should we save?
probably about $70,000.
So a new trailer is 170,000, refurbished is 30?
It was close to 100,000.
Okay,
So
but
we
we had
needed-
budgeted more.
we budgeted more
And
because
costs have gone up.
the costs have gone up, but we budgeted for the full cost of
Are
a
we looking
trailer.
at
We
another
didn't know there was
refurbished trailer as well, or is that?
There isn't one available,
Okay.
and we have to buy the furnishings. That's important to note as well, and a skirt for the bottom.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sean, I was just gonna say, Commissioner Morris to join us if we need this.
So, in your view, that'll then be sufficient for the staffing needs at Rumford?
Yes,
I'm glad you're doing this because it's really rough over there.
and we are looking at, putting an eye wash station in there. I'm sure that we would be able to get a shower, but that would be ideal. We will look at attaching an outside shower there for any hazardous accidents or spills.
Councilor Leary.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the additional facilities, because I knew at one point we didn't even have hand washing.
We do now.
We do now, and, so they don't come with a toilet in it or anything?
They do come with there'll be a restroom
So there's a restroom in both trailers?
in both
But
trailers,
you do
yeah,
have 2 toilets,
2 toilets, yeah.
but that's the max, that's for everybody.
That's for everyone,
That's a big
yes.
crew down there.
It is a big crew, but remember, 6 sweeper operators are on the road. Our yard waste pickup crew is on the road.
Yeah.
They do need facilities, but they often stop while they are on the routes.
Right, okay, and I remember the first trailer allowed Juanita to be able to be on
Have an
site.
office,
Have
yeah,
an office there, so this is another superintendent or supervisor. who will be on site.
superintendent, yes,
Who will be on site?
yes, he'll be on site. He's
Okay.
currently at Craft Street in the stables.
Okay, great.
Counselor
Yeah,
Gaines?
it's just the one that's there now, it's not very big. You know,
No, we don't have a lot of room on that site, unfortunately,
Okay.
and it's heavily used by vehicles. That's where our yard waste dumps, that's where our parts are stored, that's where the swap shop, book shed,
Right.
and then drop off goods, so.
So it'll be sited like right next to
It'll-
it?
yes.
And it's, you know, but it's specifically not for the public, it's for your staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the public will not be.
You know, if they knew that there was a bathroom there. Want to use it.
Okay, any other questions, comments on this one? Do we have a motion on this one? Motion to hold. Okay, Councilor Leary has moved to hold. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay. Next one is 115-25. Veronica May requesting authorization to appropriate $160,000 from FY 25 budget reserve for the City Hall elevator modernization project.
Thank you all.
Oh, and now we're moving on to your
on to Josh Moore.
Right.
So thank you very much. Have a great night.
Bye, Tom. Very. Welcome, Commissioner Morris.
Thank you very much for having me, everybody. All right, where we have a lot of items, I have a backup letter that I think helps, if nothing else, it will help me keep it all straight. So I'm going to share screen and walk us through this. The order in which it appears on the agenda is a little different than the way I wrote it up in the backup, so I'll bounce around a little bit, but hopefully this works. Let me know if I need to zoom in any more than this. Does this look good?
It needs to be bigger.
Okay. Needs to be bigger, you said?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't happen to see it today.
Yes,
Yes, we did.
yes. you did.
It's in the packet?
Okay. My bad.
Okay, so the very first item is the $160,000 for the modernization of our elevator at City Hall. We actually have two elevators at City Hall. Most of you are probably aware. We have one that was installed back in the 1970s. That is the one that faces the department head parking lot on Homer Street. It brings you up to engineering and inspectional services. There is a second newer elevator that was installed relatively recently down at the War Memorial end of the building, but this request has nothing to do with that one. That elevator is functioning just perfectly. The elevator in question, where it was built and installed in the 1970s, is in significant need of modernization. While it continues to pass the state inspections, it has become more and more problematic, less reliable, and it's become much harder to find repair parts. We oftentimes find ourselves scouring national or warehouses across the nation to try to find parts to repair it, and that takes time, and that's time when the elevator is down, which is certainly a challenge, with City Hall being one of our most forward-facing, extremely busy public buildings. So provided the city council, and we got a hard cost proposal with a 10% contingency, so that's what this budget reflects. So we know exactly what this is going to cost. When provided the city council approves it, as soon as the funds hit the account, we will start work immediately. I know this is a high priority for our Commission on Disability. Jeannie Fairley, our ADA coordinator, is on the meeting tonight. Thank you, Jeannie, for coming. I know this project is near and dear to her heart as well. And many residents who have asked me and continue to ask me about this project. So very high profile, or high priority for many people. Happy to answer any questions, and I can get into the technical details of what this will do if folks are interested. Just let me know.
Okay, any questions, Councilor?
I'm so glad to see this here. You know, a year ago, I was limping around on crutches, needing that elevator in order to get to city council meetings after I ruptured my Achilles. And in the past month, I've been in meetings at City Hall twice in the past month where members of the public have been unable to get up or down once they were up. And that has been very hard. We've been, you know, we rush around trying to find somebody. The mayor's office is closed. We can't find a custodian. And it's terrible. And the last one, which was just last week after public facilities, I hobbled down the back stairs with a woman who was holding the railing on one side and her husband on the other. And she got up here but couldn't get back down. So I'm really glad to see this on here. It's from the Chapin Road project, by the way. Anyway, I will support this when it comes time for us, because it's really an important thing to make this part of the building accessible to everybody. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just a comment
Councilor Leary?
that I totally agree that this is a very busy building, we have to be accessible, it needs to be, people need to be able to get in and out with not worrying that the elevator's working, so I wholeheartedly approve it when the time comes.
Councilor Danberg, I'm surprised you're not raising your hand on this one. Frequently, Councilor Danberg would like to use that elevator and it just doesn't work.
Yes, I have been preferring an elevator because I've got some bursitis that I'm trying to work through. But it's not easy for me to get up and down the stairs if I have to forego an elevator. So the other thing is that whenever the Highland Glee Club has a concert, there are a lot of older residents who come to these concerts, and they're always looking for an elevator. We have to send them around to the side and in order to use the newer elevator. And many of them park in the library parking lot, so it would be much easier for them to be able to take the elevator on the library side. So I too will be supporting this.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Hold.
Hold it in.
To hold, sorry, move to hold.
Okay. All those in favor of hold, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay.
Should we congratulate Councilor Danberg on becoming a grandmother?
Yeah.
Yeah, great job. Vicky.
Yes, welcome, Oscar.
Oh, yes, welcome, Oscar. Thank you very much. 10 pounds, 7.5 ounces in a week early, so.
What a big baby there, it's great.
Yeah, he's a big kiddo. We're gonna put him on the rugby team pretty soon.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Right here with us tonight too.
Okay, the next one is 110-25. Your Honor, the Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate $150,000 from the FY 25 budget reserve for the City Hall boiler. Condensate, how do you say that?
Condensate.
Condensate.
All right, George, I think you persuaded us right there.
Yeah, there you go. Field trip with you all night.
What's that?
Should that word be pig as opposed to pig?
Thank.
Okay. T-A-N-K,
Yeah,
so
thank.
that's to be fixed.
That
It's
was
like
the
your
door.
project.
Yeah, so it's not what you want.
Whoa, look at that.
Oh my God.
That's compelling. Okay,
Wow,
so
so much water all over the floor.
yeah.
I'll move to hold.
Here we go.
Pardon me.
Is that in City Hall? Is that where that is?
That's downstairs. You can go down there if you'd like. It's a lot of stairs.
I'm afraid I see.
Wow, it's very bright down there.
That's
We
good
do
fun.
have good lighting and we have good boilers, but yeah, this tank, if it's not obvious by the picture, is overdue to be replaced. When this tank fails, we will lose heat at City Hall. This is where the water collects after it is condensed in the steam radiator. So after the steam does its job throughout the building, that steam condenses to water. That water drains down to the tank, which is then pumped back into the boilers. So if this tank fails, the only way that we can keep things running is to bypass and send cold city water into hot steam boilers, which will most likely fracture our boilers. And then we're talking a multi-million-dollar project.
President Laredo.
So, makes good sense to me. My only question is there any thought or does it make any sense to switch out the type of heating we're using, so we're not using steam, but using some other form of heat?
It's a great question, and what you're seeing us do at City Hall is we're slowly, and I can see one in the picture, we're slowly transitioning to heat pumps throughout the building. I think what you'll see is eventually we'll have our spaces all have heat pumps, and then we can phase out the steam and boilers altogether. The cost to actually convert to hot water For a building of this size, you're probably talking about $12 million. So it's kind of cost prohibitive at this point.
Can I just follow up?
Please.
So what would be return on investment for that?
The system would reach end of useful life before we saw a return on investment.
But we are putting in heat pumps gradually.
We are, yeah. So I just went to finance the other night on a request to install a heat pump down in IT. And later this evening, we're going to talk about heat pump installation in inspectional services. So for older buildings like this that are on steam, there are, at least as of right now, there's a little bit in research and development, but there's really not a commercial level steam producing heat pump. The engineering is actually extremely difficult. They may someday get there, and if that's the case, we could start retrofitting our buildings. But I think I'd be surprised if you see something on a commercial scale that produces steam using heat pump technology. So I think for big buildings like City Hall that are steam heated, you'll see us transition through the use of ductless splits, similar to the one in the room there.
Okay, thank you. I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, I think Council Leary's first, and then,
That was my question.
okay,
Yeah.
Council Danberg, and then Council Gentile.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to ask that same question, but I'd also like to know what the useful lifespan of a new tank would be. How old is this one, and what's the useful lifespan of a new tank?
So it's a great question. Tanks take a beating. So I would say that the life expectancy for something like this is 10 to 15 years. So that's kind of where we're at. And sorry, the current one I believe is about 12 years old.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Council Gentile?
So I just wanted to add, with regard to the discussion about the split in ISD, that split is going in there primarily for air conditioning, right, Commissioner?
Yes, it will provide heat as well, but primarily air conditioning.
All right, but if you're following this discussion at all, heat pumps for heat in the heart of the winter, we're not there yet. I mean, the costs are just totally prohibitive if you ask anybody that's tried to do it. So I just want to make sure that people realize the highest and best use of these splits is for, to get some air conditioning in the summer. That's all.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else? And do we have a motion on this one?
Councilor Laredo, did you say you're gonna?
I'll move to hold.
Okay. Councilor Ray was moved to hold. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Held. 119-25. Arnold Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate $100,000 from FY25 budget reserve for the inspectional services HVAC. Oh, speaking of HVAC improvements project on the second floor of City Hall. So is there anything else you want to add to this one, Commissioner?
The existing system is approximately 30 years old, and that's a good run for an air conditioning system. And like I said, we're looking to retrofit with heat pump technology.
If I could add quickly that there's strong support for this project among the staff in ISD and planning, that whole corner of City Hall. There's been support for this for a while. I'll just put it that way. Yeah.
Councilor Danberg, do you have your hand raised on this one?
Oh, no, I'll put it down. Thank you.
This doesn't mean that the chamber has air conditioning.
Someday.
City council's a low priority.
We just keep our windows
Bring fans.
Okay, any motions on this one?
motion to hold off.
Motion to hold on this one. Anybody else? No.
Who made the motion?
Councilor Leary. So all those in favor of hold say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? Okay.
Okay.
We're trying to have 120-25 appropriation of $150,000 for fire station numbers 1 and 2 living quarter improvements. Ron and Mayor requesting $150,000 from June 30th, 2024, certified free cash. As I said, for fire stations 1 and 2, living quarter improvements project. Commissioner Morse?
Thank you very much. So on this project, you'll notice a trend. We are working with the administration and the city council to kind of make our way through some high priority projects at fire stations 1 and 2. As a reminder, these are the 2 stations that did not get major renovations or rebuilds. So following up on some awesome projects to replace windows at both stations, improvements to HVAC, let's see, an emergency generator over at Station 1, and several other projects, including the kitchens. We are also, with these funds, requesting an opportunity to improve the day room. Just for folks that may not know what that is, it's, for lack of a better word, kind of the living room for the fire stations. Typically, it's adjacent to the kitchen. It is probably the second most heavily used space in the fire station. So we're looking at roughly $75,000 per day room, and the focus is going to be replacing flooring, painting, lighting, and furnishings. Basically bring these spaces up to a little more modern, a little more comfortable environment for the men and women of the department. Happy to answer any questions you might have. I will say that I developed this project in conjunction and in partnership with Chief Gentile and Chief Bianchi.
Dr. Kelly?
Commissioner Morse, can you remind us, or those of us who haven't memorized the numbers of the fire stations, which these 1 and 2 are, where they're located?
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I certainly will. And especially where they're not in order, because some of the fire stations over the years have gone away. So Fire Station 1 is over in Newton Corner on Church Street, right next to the YMCA, just adjacent to the Pike. And Station 2 is at the corner of Comm Ave and Washington Street, right along the Marathon route.
Councilor Gentile?
So I just want to remind everyone that we had a long-range plan. There was a committee that I sat on with Sal and Paul Coletti. And we were going to be doing all of the fire stations over time. That changed because basically there were some other priorities that showed up, and I understood what we were doing and why we were delaying the work that we had already been planning through a big study that was undertaken by the city. These are 2 of the stations that were supposed to be done over, and they simply haven't. And the conditions in these stations leave a lot to be desired. Let me just put it that way. So I'm not going to vote to hold on this one. It's something that should have been done for some time. I appreciate the commissioner, planning on it and getting it teed up. And this work should commence as soon as possible, and it shouldn't be held. It's not fair to the folks at the fire department that, are in a station that was supposed to be either totally renovated or rebuilt by now, and it never happened. So I'm not going to vote to hold.
Yes, question. So Commissioner Morse, based on what Councilor Gentile just asked, so how much more would need to be done to bring these 2 stations into compliance with those plans that were done those many years ago?
So I'd have to take a look at the CIP, what we're carrying. It's still a little ways out, but it is between the 2 stations combined, it's probably north of $20 million.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So can I just follow up on that? So those are the only 2 stations that have not had substantial renovation or replacement?
That is correct.
And when was the decision made to deviate from the plan that Councilor Gentile talked about?
I believe so. The Fire Station 3 headquarters was our last project, and that wrapped up in 2018, 2019. And I think even as we were wrapping as we were in construction on that back in 2018, even 2017, it was clear that we were going to need to find additional funding to maintain the speed at which we were addressing those stations. So I think at that point, if you were to go back and watch and kind of look at each of the capital improvement plans, you'll see that it started to slide out a bit as those years progressed. And simultaneous to that, we started to work with then Chief Lucchetti and then of course now Chief Gentile to try to accelerate some of the highest priority items within these stations. But this is not to suggest that these stations don't eventually need major renovation or rebuild. It's simply that I think recognizing that it's still a little ways out, we need to make sure we're doing our best by the staff and maintaining what we can there.
Well, so for the moment.
Before the Fuller administration.
Okay. So do we have a motion on this one?
Yeah, but just a question, if
Yes.
we vote to approve, when will that go before the full city
The
council?
same night as if we voted on June 2nd.
So that's what I
Yeah.
didn't understand.
To go Monday, couldn't it?
Okay. Do we have a meeting on Monday? I don't think we do. Oh, maybe we do. Yeah, we do. But
So it could be voted Monday, May 19th instead of June 2nd to move that further
Yeah,
ahead.
we're meeting on May 9th.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So
Okay,
that's
fine.
possible.
So it will be faster, it will make a difference, okay. Well then, I'm
But,
fine.
Councilor Gentile, do you want to make a motion to approve this tonight?
yeah, I wanted to make a motion to approve, and it's also sometimes about the message we're sending too. So, I mean, you all know that. That's another reason why it would be nice to get this done at Monday night.
Okay.
So I
So-
moved it.
Gentile has moved approval. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right,
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, so that one is great.
I'm glad you raised that point, Councilor Gentile.
thank you.
Next one is 102-25. Her Honor the Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate and expend the sum of $250,000 from June 30th certified free cash for police headquarters interior paint finishes and improvement project. Commissioner Morris.
Thank you very much. So this is going to sound familiar to the last docket item, but so over at police headquarters, following up on some, I think, really impactful projects, the significant multi-million-dollar HVAC project, replacement of the roof, upgrades to dispatch, improvements to the locker rooms, the weight rooms, the restrooms, the parking lot repavement, the fence and gates, improvements to 25 Chestnut, the roof replacement in the garage, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a few others. This project, where all of those were really kind of nuts and bolts, this project is really trying to improve the look and feel and kind of working environment within police headquarters itself. Anybody that's walked through the station knows that there are areas where the lighting certainly could be better. There's areas where the flooring is a little outdated. There's areas where the ceilings need to be rebuilt and replaced. So this is really about trying to make the space more presentable for the men and women of the department and for anybody that visits police headquarters. This, again, is not to suggest that we don't need to do a major, large capital project for the police department. That is still something that is ongoing. I think, again, that's going to be something that we have to figure out how we can fund it and when that funding is available. But in the meantime, we're trying to make sure that we're maintaining what we have for the men and women that work there every day. I'm happy to answer any more questions the committee might have.
Have you finished I know you were working on a plan to upgrade the whole station, including the building at the back. Where does that stand?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we're still working on the final final feasibility report with the design team. What we did do in partnership, and a huge thank you to so many people at Newton Police. We had representation up and down the ranks for that initiative. We were able to develop an entire space program, evaluate all the existing conditions, a lot of that front end work that for any of you who have, and many of you have served on building committees in the past, a lot of that front end work is now completed, and that's not, regardless of how long it takes us to secure funds to move forward. Those are all steps that have to happen regardless of when that funding hits. So we've got that kind of all wrapped up. I would think that we're probably in a position to come before the city council to give you an update on this probably in the fall. But I, of course, will work with the administration and the city council to get that on the books.
Isn't Maria?
So if you do this work and we say 5 years from now, build a new building or do a substantial renovation, is some of this going to be wasted, or is it so imperative that we just need to do it because even if we do a project that's years off?
Yeah, I think so. To be very honest, for this type of work, it's probably not going to be something that is saved when we do the larger project. But that being said, even if we were to go secure the funds, let's say we have the funds in our hands in the next 4 or 5 years, we need to finish the design, which is another 2 years, and then construction, which is 2 years. And at the same time, we also need to figure out where it's going to be built and where the police would operate out of while it's being built. So I think realistically, it's probably, 8 to 10 years at the fastest before we're cutting a ribbon for a new facility. So I look at this as probably money well spent for the people who will work there for the next decade or so.
Can you just remind me how much money again?
$250,000.
Thank you, Melissa.
Can I ask a question? So Council Leary and I were at the West Newton Cinema, was that yesterday? And we heard a lot about the parking situation in West Newton. And I'm wondering, to what extent do you take into account not just police parking, but police parking and its impact on the village? Was that thought about at all?
So it yes and no, I guess is the best way to answer it. It's because we know that the project is still a ways out. The parking demands may very well change in that time period, but I think we also are keenly aware that parking in West Newton is a challenge. And as with any project that we do, and again, anybody that's been on these building committees knows, we would end up doing a full parking and traffic study. And there would be recommendations that come out of that, both for a parking management plan, but also for any potential changes to parking restrictions and possibly how you approach parking capacity.
Okay, so that's in the future.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else?
No, I just would defer to Councillor Gentile, it just because this one was very much like the other one. Or do you have any thoughts on this one? Yeah.
I mean, it's a good question. In a way, I didn't want to push my luck, but I don't want to appear insensitive because I feel equally important about, the police department. I don't, with the fire, you remember they're there 24 hours on their shifts, and the importance of having a day room that's in a good condition is, I think is a little bit more important. I'm not trying to say that these improvements aren't also important. They are, but to me, knowing a little bit about the life of a fireman, I got a lot of family members that have been on the Newton Fire Department. It's a little bit of a different situation, which is why I pushed on the last one. I'm happy to go along with whatever the committee wants to do.
Okay, so clear motion. Councillor Getz has moved hold. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. That's 2 coming up. Did I skip up? What is it? That's on the next page, yeah. I was gonna say, is there more to the page? Different page. Yeah. Appropriation of $75,000 for the Newton Center tree lighting project. Your Honor, the mayor requesting authorization to appropriate and expend 75,000 from June 30th, 2024 for certified free cash for the Newton Center tree lighting project. Sounds like it's Christmas.
You're on.
Commissioner Morse?
Thank you very much. So for anybody who's been through Nonantum, and I noticed that Terry Sorrow joined us this evening, so she knows this all too well. We worked with the businesses there and Eversource, and we were able to light up a lot of the trees in Nonantum. I think it's visually something that draws people into the community. I think it establishes a sense of pride as well. I think it's good for the residents, and I think it's good for the businesses and the patrons. Similar to that, over at Newton Center, we think there's a great opportunity with the Newton Center Green and some of the trees around the triangle to provide something that will kind of create, I think, something visually special in Newton Center that will help draw people to that space. It kind of solidifies that you've arrived to the center, and I think it will be an attractive thing for our businesses, our patrons, and our residents. The $75,000 is going to go towards procuring of the lights, the twinkle lights themselves, as well as some money to extend the power that is out there that we recently installed. So happy to answer any questions people might have.
Councilor Danberg is first. Councilor Danberg and then President Laredo.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm delighted that the mayor has decided to expend these funds and ask us to expend the funds. Newton Center business people have been asking me for many years now why Newton Center can't put lights in the trees, and they feel that it would help them tremendously for all the reasons that Mr. Morse has just pointed out. So I don't think I have any more to say that Josh Morse has said, and I am heartily in favor of this. I think it's money very well spent, modest amount of money that will do a great deal of good.
Okay.
I will say, just in backing up Councilor Danberg, she has, and if any business owners are listening, she has been an advocate for this project for a very long time. I know because I've been on the receiving end of her inquiries for 17 years now. So
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, President Laredo.
So I appreciate Councilor Danberg's support of this. A couple things, Commissioner Morse. Who in the administration proposed this project?
I believe this was actually something that I had recommended a while back. Councilor Danberg had suggested it many, many times. It's something we discussed in the past. And I think with the free cash that was available, we were going through projects that we had recently discussed, and this was one that we had talked about. So I think it was not any one person as much as just kind of going through smaller projects that could have big impacts.
And I appreciate that business owners have reached out to Councilor Danberg, who obviously knows that area exceptionally well. But were there any, I know there's associations with the Newton Center businesses, were formal communications between economic development and those groups held at all about this project?
I don't believe so, no.
I'm all set. Thank you.
I think Councilor Kelly is next.
Thank you. I love beautification of landscapes and holiday seasonal lighting, and I think this would look great, but I'm cringing a little bit at the timing when we're facing this shortfall towards the public schools and wondering, even though this is a very small amount, part of me wishes this 75,000 would go this year towards that deficit rather than towards lighting. I could be convinced another way, but I just wanted to raise that publicly. I guess the timing of asking for money for something that's really kind of like a seasonal beautification when we're facing a much bigger issue and a budget shortfall is just striking me tonight. So I just wanted to say that.
Councilor Getz.
The only other additional thought was is there any, sort of because I'm doing this, I'm looking at lights that actually are solar. You know, they collect the energy and then they, you know, it's an in perpetuity kind of system so that then you're not dependent on electricity. Is that something that, I don't even know where the state of the, you know, the ability to light a tree at night in a village, whether or not you have solar collectors that could do that at that scale, I just don't know.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Counselor, because I looked into this when I was trying to do a similar project in Highlands a few years back, and you hit the nail on the head. Its capacity is the challenge. There are some decent systems where it can produce, where a small solar cell and battery can support 100 or 200 lights, but we need tens of thousands of lights. So which sounds like an obscene amount, and it is, but that's just to make sure that the trees actually are visible from a distance. Those smaller systems, they just don't put a lot of light out. So we need more light density to make it actually kind of visually pop.
Yeah, I think the technology isn't quite there on that, which really makes sense. But I'm not an expert on it, but in my experience, both the amount that we would need there, and part of the problem is when you're collecting solar, it's very sun reliant, and sometimes they start to fade out. They don't stay bright the whole time you would want them to necessarily, and that would be a shame too. So.
And then the only other thought is the equity between the villages. You know, you're doing it here in Newton Center, we've got many other villages that, and the Highlands have been asking as well. So and they're using their business community to, you know, potentially do the lighting. And I think they have done it in the past with the help of the villages.
You know,
Yeah, so I just sort of feel like if this is a pilot, that's one thing, but if it's, we need to think about that too. But I fully support your idea of, you know, this is beautification when we're in an era of really.
President Loredo.
You know, I share Counselor Kelly and Counselor Getz's concerns. I mean, it's nice. It's an extra. I want to see, is there $75,000 that could be spent on other things in Newton Center that might be more important to our business owners? And also, given what's going on with the school budget, I'm having a very hard time supporting this right now.
Counselor Danforth.
One additional thing that I would just like to say is that I've obviously over the years had many conversations with business owners over this and over other things that I've asked the business owners to weigh in on as far as what they think that the city could do that would most benefit them and help bring customers in and therefore profits for them to allow them to stay alive through the ups and downs of the economy. And I've always received very high regard for lighting. I've had people say, we'd love to have planters and we'd love to see different kinds of beautification. They would love to have a water feature on the Newton Center Green or wherever it could be put in Newton Center. But again, that's a way bigger ticket item than the lighting. And I don't remember who it was in City Hall that I spoke to, but someone commented that they thought this would be a good time to spend a little bit of money in Newton Center because we're doing significant improvements. We hope that the business owners in the neighborhood will approve in Newton Highlands, and that it was now would be a very good time to spend a little bit of money in Newton Center. That they felt, that everyone felt would bring money into the businesses in Newton because it will attract customers.
President Loredo.
So I want to be clear, Counselor Danberg, my understanding is there's no money right now to actually do the Newton Highlands improvements. It's not in the budget. It's not gonna be done in the next year or so. So while there's been lots of planning going on there, there's no funding for that work. So again, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Council Mary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I also am sensitive to the school department budget as well as the issue of equity. Of course, I live in Oneg, and we did this a number of years ago, I guess, when, you know, we were more flush or things costs were lower, maybe. And it is very popular. And I was wondering, Josh, if we could also consider sort of the longer term picture of how we could do this in more than just one or two other villages. Maybe, you know, because Newton Highlands is another village that wanted it. And I wonder if we should have some kind of plan and maybe some local fundraising to go towards it as well. So that's my thought on that. I think it would look lovely and it would be wonderful for Christmas, and often there's Christmas events that go on, or holiday events that go on in Newton Center too, which would be very festive. With the school, I mean, it is such a small amount of money. I'm wondering if we could also think of cobbling it together with any other possible funds to eat away, because in itself, I don't think $75,000 is particularly helpful for the schools at this point. It's such a small amount of money, but if that was part of some other sums that we could cobble together, that could be meaningful.
We don't have to decide on this tonight.
We can hold this one.
We can hold this one to see how everything else goes.
I'm happy to make, I'm going to hold on this one, sure.
Okay.
Raised hand.
Council Danberg, do you have your hand up again?
No, but I would either make the motion or support Councilor Kelly's motion to hold.
You would like to make it because it's from your ward, that's fine with me.
So, Councilor Danberg, do you want to make the motion then?
Yes, I will move to hold.
Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, okay. And the last one is 120.05. Her Honor the Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate the sum of $2,525,000 from June 30th, 2024 certified free cash for the purpose of completing a list of priority school facility projects throughout the district. Commissioner Morse?
Thank you very much. So I'm going to walk through these items. All right, so the first one I wanted to point out, the $100,000 to replace fire extinguishers and complete upgrades to fire suppression systems in school kitchens. This particular item, I am hearing Newton Public Schools, I believe they have secured the funds to take care of this themselves. And assuming that this item will be held tonight, I can certainly get you more information before the City Council takes action on this docket item.
Okay.
$200,000 to replace stage curtains and rigging and improve the auditoriums at several schools. So this is definitely a higher priority item for Newton Public Schools. This is new stage curtains are required to meet fire rating standards. So a lot of these older curtains are prior existing non-conforming. And due to their age, many of these older curtains in our schools are in poor condition and do not meet the current fire rating standards. I should have said at the beginning, if it's not clear, this is a list of projects that was provided by Newton Public Schools. This is certainly not something that we came up with on our own. So I just want to thank Superintendent Nolan, Liam Hurley, and David Stickney for their work on this. There is $150,000 to replace stationary bikes, machines, and other fitness equipment at several schools. This is another one that is a higher priority item for Newton Public Schools as well. The physical education equipment has been historically purchased through a combination of charter maintenance and other line items within the Newton Public Schools budget, and that's oftentimes stretched thin. This project will replace the old and failing fitness equipment and ease the burden on the NPS budget. $125,000 to replace a section of the Williams School roof. This is a project that will replace a large section of the tar and gravel roof that was installed in 1993. So we certainly got our money's worth out of that one. There have been ongoing patches to that particular roof section, and leaks are starting to impact the classrooms in the corridors below. This will complement the recent replacement of the auditorium roof. And for folks that haven't been by, we redid the auditorium ceiling, and it looks awesome in there. This project was requested to be completed by NPS due to the cost and impacts on their charter maintenance line item, and it will help ease the burden on the NPS budget. $100,000 to replace old and outdated cafeteria tables at several schools, several schools. So this is just one of those, again, where NPS will oftentimes use their charter maintenance to fund replacement of furniture. And in this case, this free cash would be utilized to help offset that, and we would be doing that out of this account as opposed to charter maintenance. $250,000 to replace unit ventilators that are beyond their useful life in classrooms at the Mason Rice School. This is another higher priority item for Newton Public Schools. So the unit ventilators are pieces of equipment in each classroom that provides heat and fresh air to each space. These units are well beyond their useful life. They're in poor condition and require significant investments from charter maintenance budget to maintain their functionality. I can speak to this one myself because during COVID, this building was tough. Those unit ventilators gave us a run for our money to get them to meet the current fresh air exchange requirements. So these will these funds, when approved, if approved, will replace these units and improve the classroom environment and ease the burden on the budget. $250,000 to replace outdated art equipment that is beyond its useful life, such as tables, stools, risers, and stands in multiple schools. This is, let me see. Okay, so the replacement of furniture in our schools is something that is historically paid for out of charter maintenance. In this case, if these funds were approved, we'd be able to build this against the free cash line item, which would ease the burden on the charter maintenance account. $500,000 to upgrade 8 restrooms at Newton South High School. These improvements include finishes, plumbing, fixtures, and accessibility improvements. This is another high priority project for Newton Public Schools. So Newton South High School was renovated in 2002. Since that time, our capital investments have focused on critical building systems, such as boilers and other HVAC equipment. This will be the first major investment in the interior of the school since the renovation, and it is a high priority for the staff and students. In addition, this is the type of project that NPS typically would tackle as a summer project paid for out of their charter maintenance budget. Again, this, if and when funded, this would ease the burden on the charter maintenance. $500,000 to complete general upgrades to the Newton South High School auditorium, cafeteria, offices, and locker rooms. So again, same as above, the difference here is that this is the auditorium and cafeteria and a couple other spaces. And this is really about improving the general conditions of these spaces, updating some of the most heavily used finishes, painting, lighting, those kinds of things. Over at the FA Day School, if anybody's been through the cafeteria, you'll see that the cafeteria floor, we're getting to the point where we've got our money's worth out of it. It's still in decent condition, but it's up there. So $100,000 to replace the 55-year-old cafeteria floor at the FA Day Middle School. That is a pretty straightforward project. And then last but not least, $250,000 to make multiple space improvements in classrooms, offices, and other spaces throughout the Mason Rice and Williams elementary schools. So this is, the Mason Rice School was built in 1959 and the Williams School in 1950. While these schools have had modest upgrades over the last 65 plus years, the interior spaces are in need of some improvements. This is one of the most common projects that NPS typically uses charter maintenance funds for during their summer projects. So this will improve the conditions at Mason Rice and the Williams School, and it would ease the burden on the Newton Public Schools budget. I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee has on any of these projects.
Right.
So Newton South, you got $1 million in there, Commissioner.
Yes.
If you added all the other things on a school that hasn't been really renovated for 20+ years, what would the total cost be? If you were really do what, go in and just do everything that you think needs to be done.
Everything that needs to be done at Newton South High School?
Yeah,
I would say we're probably on the order of magnitude of 280 to $320 million.
so that's building a new school.
No, that's actually less than building a new school. Yeah, believe it or not, the new schools are quite a bit more expensive. But I guess what I'll offer is, because I wasn't trying to be flip, I'm trying to be really
No, I
honest.
know you weren't.
Yeah, so the challenge is that 2002 may seem like not that long ago, but a lot of things have changed since 2002. Building codes are completely different. And it's like when you pull that string on the sweater, it just becomes larger and larger. So to go through and update and improve all of your mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, your finishes, you're then going to start triggering improvements to the building envelope and energy codes and structural codes, fire suppression codes, accessibility improvements. Like it just keeps ballooning from there. And then you get to the point where you're also then starting to factor in state standards and updates to MSBA guidelines. So your space dimensions may need to change. Therefore, your building size might need to change. So the number I'm really giving you is what you'd end up having to spend to do kind of a phased renovation addition to Newton South High School.
I guess no, I appreciate that. And I'm not in some ways surprised given costs of other high schools all across the state right now. I guess my thinking here is, and I'm not holding, it's not your decision, but if there are significant improvements in the $4, $5, $6 million range that really, and you start to phase that over time, why are we paying for these out of free cash rather than bonding them? And I won't go further with that, but it strikes me that might be something to at least consider. I'm not saying don't do this work, that's not my point. But I'm talking about the other things as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just quickly respond to that. Yes, I think eventually you're gonna need to bond somehow. I don't know whether, how you exactly pay for it, but you're gonna need to bond improvements at Newton South High School. These are smaller free cash, smaller projects that need to get done soon in order to help the school community. That is, this building is getting old fast. I think the three of us may have worked on the Vote Yes campaign, which seems not that long ago, but that's a long time ago now.
I'm just getting older, Mr. Young.
I know, so that was 25 years ago. So, yes, the answer is we're gonna need phased renovations and improvements to a whole bunch of things at Newton South High School. And not in the distant future either. But these are sort of immediate things that need to get done that clearly NPS put on their high priorities. So their team decided that Newton South was high, so $1 million, at least from this list they gave us, was high priority. So things need to get done now.
So I see Superintendent Nolan has raised her hand, and I was gonna ask if you could speak. I think you sent us a memo which somebody asked you, some counselor might have asked you, what's the highest priority items? So if you could also speak to that when you speak to us.
Hi, good evening. Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to say that relative to the South facility, there is a conditions assessment report for secondary schools, which is shortly on the school committee agenda, which rounds out the assessment report that was done last year for elementary. And I fully anticipate larger scale recommendations from the school committee with something we're calling the 2050 plan. That's part of our new strategic plan for facilities. So we would lay out for you those priorities and scope in an order determined by the current school committee. So perhaps to Counselor Laredo's point, there may be a larger opportunity here down the line. The improvements there at South are what I would call baseline condition needs. For example, last year we detected several bathrooms where you could reach around into the other stall from one stall to another. Just major holes and just making things unusable in terms of bathroom facilities. That's the kind of repair this is. Some bathrooms, some upgrades, lab space upgrades, and creating new walls because we are rising in enrollment there in such a way that we have to divide some spaces to accommodate the needs for small group instruction. So that's what that is. Relative to your question, Councillor Albright, about high priorities, we found an opportunity to fund the fire extinguishers that we just got it yesterday. So that is why that is removed, and that was important. The other two are the stage rigging and the Williams roof. Should we proceed in this fashion, those are the top priority just by nature of what happens when it rains, and that both may not withstand a future audit if we keep waiting. So those are the reasons, but at this time, of course, our preference is for funds to be used in a different manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, first Councilor Leary and then Councilor Gentile.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Josh, will all this work be able to get done over the summer? Do you have the capacity to do all those jobs?
I don't believe we would complete all this work this summer. We would tackle as much as we can, and we're pretty good at moving quickly. But there's a lot to take on here. But looking forward to rolling up our sleeves and doing as much as we possibly can this summer, should the funds be approved, with Dave Stickney and his team.
But you have a priority list for here, such as maybe the roof leaking and the bathrooms itself. Sound to me like those are pretty important to get done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a large list, and I need to, before I commit to, if this gets voted through, I'm just thinking out loud. If this gets voted through at the earliest, in early June, the funds would be available in early July. Teachers come back 6 weeks later. So 6 weeks to do all of this might be a little tight. But things like the Williams roof, we can do that even after teachers come back, even after students come back. So, we would do as much of this as we can right away during the summer. Some of it may spill into the fall, and I think looking at it, some of that is perfectly okay should this move forward. Things like, buying art tables and chairs and stationary bikes for PE classes. I think all of that is very doable anytime.
Right. Okay. As I remember, there's always a work list to do over the summer at all our schools that we do.
There is. Yeah, we typically work with Newton Public Schools in the winter. Every year we work with them in the winter, and we start lining up contractors and getting things ready to go really by early spring, so that everything's lined up for the summer.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So several of you have mentioned, the school budget and the current status, impasse, shortfall, whatever. I just wanted to mention that it's my understanding that the superintendent's office and school committee and the mayor's office continue to work on this, to talk. It's my hope that there'll be a peaceful resolution. I'm still holding out hope for that. And if there is, it may, and I'm just saying may, not necessarily, but it could impact some of the projects that are on this list. And I understand why we're taking it up tonight, but knowing that the list could change significantly, I guess the best thing, I'm probably just going to abstain on everything, and I just wanted to explain that and the reason why.
Okay.
And if I may, I was just going to mention, and thank you, Councilor Gentile. I think part of the reason why we wanted to make sure we went through this list is that should the city council in the not too distant future decide they want to take action, we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to talk through all this so that when and if that time comes, you're not surprised we're not starting from scratch.
Right.
I get it. I understand that. Makes sense.
So, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you interjecting that, Councillor Gentile. That was what I was hoping and assuming also, which is why I think holding a lot of these items tonight makes sense, because we want to wait and see what else might be coming forward budget-wise. So that's good to hear from you. I have two, I think one is really quick. I hope the other one is two questions for Commissioner Morse. Which schools have stationary bikes as part of their PE equipment? I know. That's a good question.
It is rare that that you catch me not prepared for a question in committee, but I cannot tell you off the top of my head which schools have stationary bikes and which ones don't. But I see Superintendent Nolan has raised her hand.
Superintendent Nolan, do you have the answer to that?
Hi, yes, both of our high schools, and for our adaptive PE classes for students with special needs who have strength and occupational training needs on their IEPs, these bikes are actually a required part of their healthcare and IEP protocols. The problem is there's no replacement cycle of funding or plan for the existing bikes, so we're getting that started here.
Thank you. Then, Nolan, is that at all middle schools and both high schools?
And even some elementary schools have sets of them. Yes.
Great to know. That's information that I didn't know anything about that before tonight, so that's great. My second question, which I think will probably be quick, perhaps for Commissioner Morse, but Anna Nolan, you might want to weigh in, is you had mentioned the $250,000 for Mason, Rice, and Williams basically being built in 1950 and 59, and I'm wondering why Pierce was not included in that. Similar generation, similar level of whatever inside. Is there something to be thinking about in the future for improvements to Pierce School too?
Yeah, I mean, I of course welcome Superintendent Nolan's thoughts on this as well, but I think the challenge is that we still have 8 elementary schools that we have not done major renovations or rebuilds on, so there's a lot of needs out there. And I think this is a situation where we're trying to, where I believe Newton Public Schools was trying to identify projects where the difference between priorities are very close to one another. So that's kind of a slippery way of saying that I imagine that when we're looking at free cash in the future, we may very well be talking about a project at Pierce. I will also say we're currently right now working on the roof replacement for Pierce as well. So it's not that we don't have any love going their way, although I do understand if you're a teacher or a student, while you like to keep dry, the roof is not the most visually impactful project.
No, I do understand. It's just, you know, of a similar condition. I often think of Pierce and Williams similarly in that way. So I just, on behalf of all the Pierce School parents, children, teachers, and administrative staff, I thought I'd ask the question. Okay, thanks. That's it for me.
So Commissioner Morse, I have a question for you about the day cafeteria.
Yeah.
And I have this vague memory of when one of the day renovations that happened over the last 20 years, that the cafeteria floor was part of it, and actually there was an issue with the flooring. But maybe that's a different school. Maybe I mixed up.
Josh, didn't we expand the cafeteria a little bit along with the addition and the renovations to the front of the building?
So, Councillor Albright, I am impressed.
Yeah.
So we did not replace the entire cafeteria floor, but the chief operating officer is correct. We didn't necessarily expand, but we reconfigured the cafeteria. Kind of feels like an expansion, and because of that, we did have to replace a small section of the cafeteria floor.
Okay, so it wasn't the whole thing.
No, certainly not.
Okay, got it. All right. So do we have a motion on this one? Or I'll move to hold. Okay, Councillor Kelly has moved to hold. Any further discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, so we have, Councillor Gentile, did you want to abstain on this one? No, this one-
No, hold is fine.
hold is fine, okay.
Yeah.
So, I think we're done.
Yeah.
Good.
And we will meet again,
Come on,
before the tomorrow night, but on these items, we will take the rest of these items in second before the full council meeting.
One on the,
what time?
Monday.
I guess 7 would be, 7 gives us 45 minutes. Is that enough time, does people think?
What do you say?
Can I suggest,
6:45?
I'd suggest 6:45.
Okay,
just to be safe.
6:45. This is the June 2nd, it'll be before the full council meeting, so that we can dispose of them and they can get.
Recording stopped.
45?
Yeah. What would you like to say tonight about this? Jenny?
Yeah, I didn't realize you had the option for a couple of items to not hold, and I know you already voted, but I just wanted to put in a word about the elevator and Councilor Danberg. It goes out at least once a week, if
Recording in
not twice
progress.
a week. And so we're talking 4 more times before the next time. So I don't know if you can change your vote. Maybe you can't, but I wanted to put, I get multiple complaints about that, not only from residents and older adults and but also colleagues in the building. So, and they all take their cell phone when they get in the elevator. They're so afraid they'll be stuck in that elevator. It's like a known fact over there. So I just thought if you could move it up that 2 weeks, it'd be worth it. I know Josh said he had a contractor ready to go. So that's my thought. And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to say it at the vote. Thank you.
Okay. Is anybody interested in reconsideration on that one?
I'm just very curious, because I thought that, so, we did not approve that, right?
We held it.
Oh.
Would, Josh, Mr. Morris, Commissioner Morris, would 2 weeks make a difference in when you could get to that, depending on when that was voted on, when that could be done, or is 2 weeks negligible in terms of repairing that elevator?
I mean, quite honestly, the faster the money is approved, the faster we can get going on it. So, yes is a short answer, but I obviously I defer to the will of the committee.
Councilor Danberg?
Yes, I would say that it's a very high priority item. And if we could give it an extra 2 weeks, that would be a very good thing. If we could, how would we move reconsideration on this?
Just move it.
Item,
Okay, I move reconsideration on item number, I don't have it in front of me.
Is what? 25. You're moving reconsideration on 115-25.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so reconsider, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? Okay, now that is back for open for discussion. Does anybody have a different motion to make on that, on 115-25?
Would you like to move?
I
to-
would move to approve.
Okay, so Councilor Danberg has moved approval. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Ms. Fairley.
Yes, thanks, Lily, for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think we are now done.
Good.
And Superintendent Nolan, I wish you good luck.
Oh, and Ginny Fairley, consider running for city council.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, everybody.
That's not your word, is it?
Thank you.
My word, that's her word.
We like civic action.
Oh, did I not sign?